broadcast. All right. Hey, Craig Martell here, coming to you live from the subarctic and Alex's basement, because I broadcast downtown. Today we have Carlyn Robertson from BookBub. And where are you coming to us from, Carlyn?
I'm in Rochester, Minnesota, actually. BookBub is based just outside of Boston, but I have relocated since the pandemic started, so I'm here full time now.
So what's that look like for your company then?
So we are all remote. Most of the team is back in Boston. Some people have taken this opportunity to move back closer to family and other places, but we are keeping things rolling all from our homes since March. So it's been, over 6 months now since we've all been together in the office, but things are still going pretty smoothly. We're real lucky that the company, we can all do our jobs from our own homes, and we're getting the support we need from BookBub to keep that happening.
Well, and I see a lot of featured deals. People are getting their responses. It's like it's transparent to us, so we don't see any difference. And we'll talk about all things BookBub today: BookBub advertising, BookBub ads, and BookBub feature deals, and also Chirp. We'll end on the audiobook, the audio side of BookBub's new program on getting your visibility. So starting with featured deals. I've noticed that I've gotten a few this year on KU books. I think so. What's that look like for your sales demographic? Because I know wide is a big part of your U.S. sales, but international is KU more prominent?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't actually collect that information from our BookBub subscribers, whether or not they're in KU or not. We do know if they're preferring to purchase their ebooks from Amazon or from multiple retailers or other retailers. So the way that Kindle Unlimited does have a bearing on the feature deal selection process for our editorial team is we do generally prefer to feature a book on as many retailers as we can. So any authors who have heard us talk about the selection process before will probably have heard that it can actually be tougher to get selected when you're in Kindle Unlimited, because if we feature a book in science fiction, for example, that's only available, the deal's only available on Amazon, our readers who are signed up to Barnes & Noble, for example, wouldn't see any deal that day. And if they're only signed up to science fiction, they basically wouldn't get an email from us. So not a great experience for our readers. So for that reason, our editors do prefer books that are available to as many of our readers as possible, retailers, regions. But there's always going to be variability in the submissions that we're receiving and the quality of the books. So depending on, this actually can vary a lot by category. It can vary by region, that we might end up taking books that are just available on Amazon. If most of the submissions we've gotten in are books that are in Kindle Unlimited, certain categories, we just see a very different breakdown between books that are available everywhere versus those in KU. So it's fantastic that you had a great response in the UK. I know that if you're running a Kindle Countdown deal, it's only available in the US and the UK. So you miss out on Canada, Australia, and India, or the other regions. But in the US and the UK, we've got
I just changed the price to 99 cents because I have like a 25% audience that's outside of the US and UK. I have a pretty broad European contingent, so a non-UK European contingent. So I don't want to put anybody out, so I just do it 99 cents and
perfect.
And I count on read through to my backlist to really make the money off those. So I have always gotten my money back on a featured deal, even international, even on Amazon only. But that's new to me, that if somebody does not buy from Amazon, that then they simply don't get the email from BookBub, and that's good to hear, because then it makes it easier to understand why you wouldn't select a KU only book for a US feature deal. Because I mean, the US is the gold standard. It's the windfall if you can get it. I also wanted to mention that it's been almost 2 years since you completely dominated Mark Leslie Lefebvre in the push-up contest during 20 Books Vegas.
That was Chrissy from Kobo.
Oh, that was Chrissy. Oh my God! But you were there.
No part in that. I was there. I got to watch it. It was so much fun to watch. I can't believe that they got up on stage to do that.
Yeah, and
I was
dominated.
Cheering for them, but no, I was definitely not participating in that.
Oh, geez. I got you mixed up. But Yeah, a red letter date in history, and I'll have Mark on the show on Thursday, and we'll talk about that specifically. Yes,
I'm sure he'll
yeah,
absolutely
and
love it.
it was a good thing. I mean, it was a good charity event, and
Mhm.
a lot of money went. And Alex, actually, we're going to go for pizza. There's an 11-pound pizza just down the road in Nenana in Alaska that if you eat it all, you get it for free. Right. Alex and I are not going to eat 11 pounds of pizza all by ourselves. So we've actually already donated about $500 to a pet shelter because of this. So we're eating it for charity. We're taking one for the team, 11
Oh,
pounds of
good.
pizza. So that's probably a week's worth of food for both of us, but we're doing it for the team. The feature deal. So a lot of our viewers are newer. What would it take? What's some strategies for making a good impression on your editors for getting a selection for a feature deal?
Sure. So for anyone who is newer, the BookBub feature deal is a daily email that we send out to our subscribers. So when readers sign up to BookBub, they let us know which genres they like to read in and which retailers they use to purchase their ebooks. Then we send them deals every day in their genres of choice with links to purchase on those retailers. So we've got a limited number of spots that we fill up every day. So we want to make sure that we're not sending our contemporary romance readers a whole list of 20 different deals. We limit it to just a handful so that they've got a limited number to choose from. That curation is a big part of the value that we offer our members. So we receive, I think, an average of 300 submissions every single day for books to be featured in those daily emails. So we have an editorial team that sifts through all of the submissions to select the ones that they think are going to be the most exciting to our readers. So it is a very competitive process to get featured. And the factors that the editorial team are looking for when deciding which of the books that are submitted to select, there's a few things that they look for. The first is just content fit. So we have tons of data from our unique audience of readers of the types of books that they're clicking on that we feature, which ones they purchase at the highest rates. And that gives us a ton of information about their very particular tastes in each of our genres, which subgenres, which tropes, which themes they really respond best to. So the number one thing is we want to make sure that we're sending our readers books that they're likely to click on, purchase, and enjoy, both because that keeps our readers happy and opening those emails and coming back to us every day, and because that makes for the best features for the authors that we're working with. We do have a unique audience. We've got, over 20 million subscribers right now, which is a lot, but it is a smaller subset of the larger reading population. So there are some books, some types of content that our audience is just a little bit less interested in. So if we don't think that you're going to get your money's worth from a deal, we're not going to send it out to our readers. So content fit is one really important piece of the equation. The other thing that the editors look for is what we refer to as book and author platform, which is really all of the elements that a reader would see when they're looking at a book page, trying to decide whether or not to purchase a book. So that includes, which is really important, the book description, any blurbs from other authors that a reader might recognize, and of course, reader reviews are really important too. So the editors are looking at not just the total review count or the total number of reviews, they actually do dig into the actual content of those reviews. They really want to know what other readers have said about a book. In some cases, they are looking for particular signals for things that are going to be a problem for us. So a lot of reviews noting that there were typos or formatting issues, that's going to be a big red flag. But if there are 1 or 2 star reviews of people just saying, this book wasn't for me, that's not necessarily going to be a mark against you when they're assessing that, because they, of course, know that readers have lots of different tastes. So they really look for in the positive reviews, what readers have responded well to, what they really loved about a book, and does that line up with what we know our readers love as well. So getting more reviews is definitely one thing that you can do to increase your likelihood of getting selected, mainly because we know that our readers really like books that have been well reviewed. So if we can say in a feature deal blurb, this book has over a certain number of 5-star reviews on Amazon, that's something that actually will increase the likelihood that our readers will click on that deal. So more reviews are only a good thing, though we don't actually have a minimum review count that will qualify you to be selected. There could be a case where a book is newly published, maybe doesn't have a lot of reviews yet, but happens to be exactly the kind of book that we know readers in a certain genre would love, and we might feature that book. So content fit, book platforms, sort of all the elements that a reader would be looking at. And then really it just comes down to a numbers game. So again, we're receiving far more submissions than we can actually feature. So if your book is not selected, that actually doesn't mean that your book isn't going to be a good fit for our audience necessarily. It might just be that we didn't have space at this particular time. So you can resubmit each book once every 30 days, and we strongly encourage that. It's not a bother to the editorial team to see your book come back in. It's actually the best thing you can do to increase the likelihood that we will have space for your book in the category that's the right fit for it. Because every time you submit, it's going to be a very different submission pool. The other books that the editors are considering at that time will be very different month to month, and the space in our calendar is also going to change every time you submit each month. So we do ask that you wait that full 30 days to make sure that all those factors have time to reset. But that's one of the best things you can do to give yourself the best chance, is just make sure that your book is always in the pool whenever it's eligible.
Okay, good info there. And author platform, and this is something that is a little bit newer to me. Let me turn this thing off. There we go. A little bit newer to me in that you take a look at the author platform and say, hey, because you see successful authors, hey, why are they keep getting BookBubs? Well, because now you have a track record. So you do track if somebody gets a BookBub and how it does on that feature deal, like how many clicks. You'll know how many clicks it got for each newsletter, each genre title. So successful authors, and that's what I tell people, success gives you the more opportunity for success. So putting books up there, I used to I just rotated my books through and put a new book up every time I got a rejection. I just offered a new book.
That's the
until
way to
I realized
that.
Well, but they weren't necessarily my best efforts. So now I only throw what I consider, hey, this is something that if this gets the deal and it goes out there, it'll get enough clicks that then I'll be in the good guy pool for another feature. And I don't know how you guys track that, and I don't want to know. That's internal company business. But I do know that it does come into consideration as part of the author platform. So this is a note to all of the viewers. Put your best book forward always. And when we talk about like reader magnets, don't just take, hey, I've got a quick story that I threw together here, I'll give it for free. It needs to be the best example of your work. And this is a mistake that I made for over a year and a half. I had a book that wasn't in any of the genres I wrote, and I gave it away for free. And I'm like, hey, geez, I'm just not keeping readers on board. Well, no kidding. Now that I started giving a full book away that's very representative of my science fiction, guess what? The readers are coming and they're staying because I'm aligned. So and BookBub for feature deals, it's exactly the same. And 20 million. How many genres do you address? Is there 50 or 60?
Oh gosh, I want to say it's somewhere between 40 to 45, maybe.
Okay,
somewhere in that range. Yeah.
So if you get 300 submissions, hey, that's when you get that rejection letter, which we've all gotten. It says only 20% get selected, so that's out of this 300 submissions. You will get 40, 45, so it's not only one out of 300. I mean, that's not those chances are kind of minimal.
Yeah.
So okay, hey, there's a good question there. If an author gets a feature deal, what number of purchases would impress you?
Great question.
On a 99-cent single book feature.
Yeah, I don't actually have that information off the top of my head because it's going to be different for every single one of those 40 plus genres. Categories. Yeah, so for both the category and the price point, so free 99 cents, $1.99, $2.99 for every one of those categories is all going to have sort of a different threshold that our editorial team is looking for. Yeah.
Okay, and that makes sense. But also, one thing I've seen, I'm science fiction all the time, except for when I'm thriller, except when I'm not even thriller or nonfiction. So my science fiction, I watch it very, very closely throughout the whole industry, and I've noticed a hell of a lot more. Traditional publishing gets a half to 2/3 of the feature deals each month, and old books, Octavia Butler, Heinlein, Norton, will get a book every now and then. But what I've seen now and more often is they're single books. They're pricing them at $2.99 on the BookBub feature deal. I know those cost a lot more, but I can't believe that the response on a $2.99 book would be anywhere near what it is on a 99-cent book.
Yeah, gosh, I want to say it's a 74% difference in engagement between 99 cents and $2.99 on average across the categories. So you're definitely going to see a lot more clicks, a lot more downloads on a 99-cent book. There are some factors that can mitigate that a little bit. So for example, Heinlein is going to get a lot of clicks and sales no matter what price we're featuring his books at. So we typically can, if someone has a lot of name recognition in the genre, they can support that higher price point. We know they're still likely to get enough clicks and sales to make that worthwhile. But I should say that the fees that we charge for the featured deals at each price tier for each category are actually determined by expected performance, not just total number of readers that you're reaching. So we've sort of boiled that in because we do have some categories that are a smaller number of readers, but actually way more engaged. A couple of our romance categories, actually, our readers just are purchasing books at an insane rate. So if you look at our pricing page, which does actually have some information about the average downloads in each of those breakdowns, you'll see that some of our smaller categories have higher prices than ones that have a lot more readers in them. And that's because that's how we're factoring that price in.
I know some LGBTQ authors who, if they can get a BookBub feature deal, they kill it because it's such a heavy engagement from folks on when they get that, they click, they take a look, they give it an honest look, and then with a good blurb, they seal the deal.
Looks like we got another question here.
What is a number where you don't get any loving? And that's I think that's pretty clear as Carlyn just explained, and I'll speak for you here. I'm not mansplaining, please don't. Is if you don't get your money back, that's probably BookBub will see that as well.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, we want you to be making your money back when we feature you. And obviously the sales of the book that we're featuring are just part of that equation. As you mentioned, sell-through is actually a huge part of the reason to run a feature deal and run a discount, is that you can get then those full price sales once a new reader has discovered you at a lower price, lower risk. So there's a lot more beyond just the clicks on the one book that we know are factored into the success of the promotion. But our goal is, of course, that we want you to make your money back. We want that to be successful for you. So that would certainly be a signal that maybe a book wasn't quite the right fit for our audience, or wasn't a good fit for the particular category. I'm seeing another question here. If a book could fit in multiple genres, I'd say in the submission form, always just select the one that you think is the best fit. Don't sweat it too much, though, because our editorial team takes that into account when they're reviewing submissions. So if you submitted for one category, but they know that our readers in a different list are going to be much more receptive to that particular book, we'll go ahead and make that suggestion to you. One example I know is we have a fantasy category, we've got paranormal romance, then we've got one called supernatural suspense. And that's actually where we send a lot of our urban fantasy. But it could depend a little bit on the cover of the particular book, whether we think those supernatural suspense readers or the fantasy readers or the paranormal romance readers are going to be really responsive to it. So our editors have a very good sense of which of those particular lists of readers is going to react best to a book. And we're always going to make sure we send it to the readers that are going to be most excited about it.
Okay. And I know a lot of people are torn. I hear conversations from folks and get questions from folks who said, geez, I submitted for UF and I got suspense. I got paranormal suspense. And I don't know if I want to take it, or I put in for thriller and I got action adventure or something different, and they don't know if they should take it. And I think, in my estimation, if BookBub offers a featured deal, yeah, take it. That's one that, unless you have history that says, hey, I only sold half my books with no read-through, well, then I think that comes back to the author that you need to take a look at your book and why they didn't read on to the next book. It might be your book. And that is something worth looking at, not that the featured deal, BookBub failed in any way. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that if for whatever reason the deal that we've offered doesn't fit with your particular marketing plans, like no hard feelings on our end if you're going to decide to pass on that. So, and if we have selected your book for a genre that surprised you, definitely ask the rep that you're working with some questions about that. We can definitely give you more information about why the editorial team made that choice, sort of what their thinking was. But if there's ever anything about the deal that we've offered that doesn't fit your needs, definitely don't feel pressured to take it. It's not going to be sort of a mark against you if you decide to pass on that, by no means.
and that is great information. Do not think it's a binary deal. Hey, you have to accept or not. Have a conversation. Send a question back. Hey, why is this, and what does this market look like? Because your reps will tell us, hey, there's a million people on this list. There's 400,000 on this, whatever it is, to help people make a better decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, I would always take that to expand that horizon to see if that's the right bubble. Was I marketing wrong all along? And hey, hey, this is where I really should be. Let me go change some keywords and go to town. So that's really good information. So let's look at BookBub ads, and this is Chris Callis, a friend of mine, science fiction. He just ran a series of ads on the science fiction realm, and he had his box set, and this is a 300 pixel. You've got a really limited amount of space to work, and he has his box set, but he has a spaceship breaking out of the box. It's a really cool. He's an artist, so it's a really cool graphic. And I looked at that, and I'm like, this is so cool. You're gonna make 1 million sales. So I sent him a note saying, hey man, I hope this is doing great. And then some of the other guys in the group, this is the kind of the top 50 sci-fi authors. We were saying that, hey, now we all have to do this. It's Chris set the standard. So those kinds of things. So when you're putting an ad together, what do you see as a new author trying to work your way into to get on that newsletter down at the bottom of with your ad?
Yeah. So like you said, the ads appear at the bottom of every one of those emails we're sending our readers. So bottom of the featured deal emails where we've got all the deals, bottom of the new release alerts or pre-order alerts that are sending out to an author's followers about new books. So all that a reader is going to see is that little square image, and it's definitely not a lot of space. So what you want to think about is what can you put in that image that's immediately going to grab the attention of a reader who's the kind of reader that you are trying to reach. So spaceships, great, immediately signals to the reader that this is a science fiction book. This is where it's set. This is what's happening. Yeah. Because you're also setting up targeting on the back end. So you can say, I want to reach science fiction readers who are also fans of a particular author. But the reader is not going to know that that's why they're seeing your ad. All they know is what they see. So you want to make sure that whatever they see is going to be exciting enough and intriguing enough to get them to click, land on your book page, and want to learn more.
And there's a lot of space for those ads because if you look, I think for science fiction, we're kind of let's say behind the power curve in that we don't have people with millions of followers like Thriller does with James Patterson, with Lee Child, with J.D. Robb. In science fiction, you start looking for people. You see like David Weber. Hey, he has 20,000 followers. Let me target his people. So when you advertise and you select David Weber, that email will go to those 20,000. If your ad fits in and is priced competitively, then your ad will then go to possibly those 20,000 folks, and that's it. It's not like you're trying to get the whole million on the sci-fi list.
Yeah, so we definitely recommend using that author targeting option. Obviously, reaching everyone in a genre is going to be a much bigger audience, but narrowing down by author interest gets you readers who are much more likely to be interested in the particular book you're promoting. Obviously, if you think of just a handful of authors in your genre, they might all write very different types of books. So identifying authors who have a fan base on BookBub that write something similar, whose fans are going to see your cover and have that immediately resonate as something they think they're going to like. That's definitely what we recommend for that platform. Is author targeting just gets you much higher likelihood that you're going to reach readers who are interested in clicking. And when you target an author, that audience includes anyone who's followed them on BookBub or who has clicked on their deals before. So one great way to identify, good way to identify people to target is just to watch your category in the featured deal email, because anyone who's had a deal is likely to have had a lot of readers who just clicked on that deal. So you know that they'll have a lot of readers that you can target with that ad campaign.
That's good info there. And the 300 pixel image, I know BookBub, you have information on that. You have, hey, here's how to increase your chances. David Gogren has written a book on that. But BookBub, you have a special section where somebody can go and watch a video or study right there within your parameters. What's the link to that?
Yeah, that link is insights.bookbub.com is our blog. So we've got insights. Yeah. Insights.bookbub.com. So we have a whole section on BookBub ads in there and ones for our other products as well. So we collect case studies, marketing examples, tips, data from our products, and share it there. And the BookBub ads section, yeah, we've got a bunch of examples of images that worked really well. We've got case studies where authors share their particular strategy and some data from their campaigns. We actually have a new case study on an audiobook ad coming out this week that I'm really excited about. We feature prepping to do at the end of this year, like the best ads of 2020, which is just sort of a collection of some wide-ranging different types of campaigns that did really well. Just to give all of you a little bit more of an example, some context for what kinds of results are good, how to set up your prices and your bid. The good thing about ads is everything is totally in your control. You have complete control over who you want to reach, how much you want to pay, what the image looks like. The bad news is that everything is under your control. So it's a lot of decisions to make and a lot of fine tuning, and the smallest changes can make really big differences. So we provide a lot of information to help you get started, but running tests yourself is actually the best way to make that platform to be really effective. So before you jump in and spend $500 on a campaign, start with just $10, see how the results look. If it's not quite what you hoped for, maybe tweak the image, maybe tweak your targets, try again with small amounts until you get to a point where the click-through rate or the cost per click is where you want it to be, and then you can start spending more.
The click-through rate. I've run quite a few BookBub ads and donated to the greater good. Donated because I didn't refine them properly. But I think one of my best ones was 2.65% on the click-through rate. And some of my worst one was like 0.05%. I think I got one click out of $100. It was kind of embarrassing.
The learning experience.
The thing with ads, and especially BookBub ads, is it's a learning experience. You can't just throw a lot of mud at the wall and hope for the best. I know Rebecca R.J. Blaine has run a lot of ads and been very successful with BookBub advertising. And she gave an example of a palette of like 20 different images. It was the exact same image, and it was just different coloring on that image. And she had one that just popped and did well. So she did away with all the rest and then doubled down on her money on the one image that seemed to resonate. So this is another way. It's not A/B testing. It's kind of an A/B testing, but you can use as many images as you need to find the one that will really, and there'll be a significant difference. When one resonates, you'll see it just takes off. And I have professionals. I don't do any graphics myself, and that's probably a big shortcoming. So I have to ask, hey, can we do this? But Chris, I'm like, I need a spaceship bursting out of my books, Chris. I absolutely have to have that now. What are some other?
Thank you, whoever posted the blog link in the comments. Appreciate that.
What other tips could you give regarding ads on BookBub?
Yeah, great question. So apart from testing and taking the time to figure out what works, I think the other sort of best tip I can give is to make sure you know what you're trying to achieve with your ads before you get started. So if you just come in, start setting up ads, kind of hoping for the best, maybe see if you get some sales, you might end up disappointed. Whereas if you come in saying, I've got a 99-cent first in series, I want to try to get, this many new readers coming into that series. The way that you set up your campaign is going to be really different based on what you're trying to achieve. So if you're promoting a first in series, it's permanently discounted, as opposed to promoting a new release, it's maybe a little bit higher priced. You're going to end up setting up that campaign, targeting different readers, highlighting different things in the image, and spending different amounts too. So your bid might be really different. So I would say make sure that you're approaching that platform very intentionally and understanding exactly what you're trying to achieve for a particular book, and then making the choices for that campaign around what you're trying to achieve. And that's where a lot of the case studies come in too. So you can see sort of for authors who were trying to do something similar, how did they set it up? What were they thinking about? And how can you adapt that strategy to work for your own books?
I've been around a lot of conversations regarding that graphic, and people who advertise it and put free in KU as opposed to, hey, 99 cents for the box set, or yeah, first book free, those kinds of things, which are very straightforward. But free in KU, there's a lot of readers kind of get miffed at that because they're not in KU and they see free and they go over there and it's not free.
Mm-hmm.
So what is BookBub's experience with that kind of approach on advertising?
Yeah. So I actually did, for a blog post recently, an analysis of over 1,000 different images, looking at, did they say free in KU, 99 cents, and what was the ultimate impact on average clicks. And interestingly, the ads that said free and the ads that said free in KU actually got about the same likelihood of getting clicked. So whether it was free on all platforms or just free in KU, they actually performed about the same, which was pretty cool to see. And we don't really have data on this from a conversion standpoint because we can't see that for the ads. We can just see clicks, not sales afterwards. But I would assume that the more prominent you can put Kindle Unlimited, the better that's going to be for readers, because if it's really obvious in that ad image that your book's in KU, readers in our member base who are subscribed to KU will see that, will click, are much more likely to actually convert. Whereas also readers who see it who aren't in KU can see it. And another tactic I've seen work well is using cost per click bidding when you're running an ad for a book, where you can't necessarily target to reach that audience. So when you use cost per click bidding, you're only paying when a reader who sees the ad clicks on it, as opposed to paying for every single impression. And the way that our auction works, one impression equals one opened email or one reader's eyes on the ad. So if you're using cost per click bidding and your ad is for a book in KU, you've got KU prominently in that ad image. What that means is the readers who click are probably the ones who are signed up for Kindle Unlimited, and then you're only paying for those readers who actually fall into your target audience, as opposed to all the other Amazon readers who might be seeing the ad who aren't in KU and aren't necessarily going to be interested in clicking.
That's a good discrimination, because that I have done almost exclusively CPM ads. You know, you pay your $8, $10, $12, whatever, and you throw it out there. But if free in KU, then maybe a CPC approach is better. And the bad part of a CPC approach on a free in KU ad is you go over to Amazon to collect your data and they don't give you anything. They don't tell you if somebody borrowed your book. And this is something every time we meet with Amazon, we ask them, can we get that information that somebody borrowed my book? Because it really changes how we run ads. And we have to guesstimate. We have to wait a week and say, hey, we're getting an increase in page reads. People must have borrowed our book. It's really a really poor way to do business. Yeah. So we beat Amazon every time. Give us who borrowed the book. Give us how many people turned the book back in. I mean, you have the data because we get paid by page reads. So it really chaps my ass that they won't give us who borrowed our books.
Yeah, it's tricky. It can definitely be tricky to isolate the sales and conversion results. Because clicks only tell part of the story there.
So what kind of data will help out of the ad dashboard will help an author make better decisions with BookBub ads?
Yeah. So the first one that's usually a great signal is the click-through rate. That basically just lets you know, is the image that you're using working for the people that you're targeting? And if it's not, either you've got to change who you're trying to reach, or you have to change that image to better appeal to the audience that you're reaching. Obviously, the first step to getting those sales is getting readers to click on that ad and land on your book page where they'll get to have the full description. In a lot of ways, the ad is really just like a hook to get them there. So you don't need to put your whole book description, just highlighting a couple things like tropes or trends that are going to be a huge hit for your target audience. Deal prices, of course, are going to grab readers in, especially BookBub readers who love especially learning about new authors through a deal. If it's a new release, targeting your own readers who already know who you are probably going to be excited to get your next book. Yeah. Was there a second half to that question that I missed? I feel like I missed half of that.
No, I don't want to look like a creepy stalker here. I'm sitting on a couch, and so I'm kind of leaning forward and yeah, no, I'm not trying to get comfortable. So the BookBub ads, data is king. With
yes.
ads, all ads, we get a limited amount of data to make pretty extensive decisions, especially if you're trying to scale up your ads. So what kind of recommendations would you make to someone regarding how would they scale up a successful ad?
Yeah, so the click-through rate obviously is just the first step of, is this ad working for who you're trying to reach? And then when you're talking about scaling up an ad, that has to do with both the total audience that you can reach there and how much you're spending. So at that point, you're going to want to look at, in the dashboard, we call it the ECPC, or effective cost per click, which is basically not just your bid, but how much you ended up paying for every single reader who clicked on the ad, regardless of which bidding strategy you're using. So we calculate that for you in the dashboard. And that is the number that you want to use if you're really focused on the ROI of your ad. So based on every single reader who clicked, how many do you think are turning into sales? And are you paying an amount per click that is going to be profitable based on how many readers are, again, depending on what you're promoting, either buying that particular book or maybe buying the first book in a series and also the later books in a series. I know some authors look at total sell-through across a series when they're calculating the profit off of an ad. So it depends a little bit on exactly what you're promoting and what your goals are for that. But once that cost per click is at a level that you are happy with, or the click-through rate, then you can just start adding budget to a campaign. So you can edit the budget at any point, add more, and it'll keep scaling up and reaching new readers. And that's where sort of the audience comes into play, is you want to make sure that you are targeting an audience that's narrow enough to get the engaged clicks, but also wide enough that you can reach a lot of readers there. And once that starts to, yeah, exactly. And you can always rotate out again, edit your targets. So if you do have a campaign that's been performing well, starts to taper off a little bit, you can either switch up the targets, switch up the image, and keep reaching the same people, maybe to get readers who didn't necessarily click on that first image but might be interested in the second. And then it's just kind of a game of continuing to fiddle with it over time and trying to maintain your results.
So you start your ad. What can you edit on that ad to keep it alive? So it's almost a test with yourself. I'm going to run it 3 days with this image. I'm going to run 3 days with this image, and so on, to test a few images. What can you edit on that ad? So you're only changing one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm. So on a live campaign, I think you can edit everything except for the image and potentially the bid. I'd have to double check with that. But the cost per click bid in particular, we do some math on the back end to convert that into CPM for the auction. So I think if you change that bid, it sort of messes with the back end algorithm for how we're serving that particular ad in the auction. So if you want to change, I think it's just the cost per click bid. CPM, I think you're fine. So cost per click and the image, you do have to copy the ad, start a new one, and then change that element. But for everything else, you can change your targeting, you can change your total budget, you can change the links. At any point, you can go in and turn a link on or off. Yeah, I think those are all the elements you can edit in a live campaign.
Okay, so if you want to test ads or images, so you would run 3 identical ads. Mm-hmm. You're running $10 CPM, so you're going to get X amount of impressions. So when you run, and if you're just going Robert Heinlein, and I've done this before where I've run 3 ads, all Heinlein. So how am I competing against myself in that realm to then show these images to get which one will be the best for scaling up?
Yeah, great question. So in that case, you've got 3 ads, each with a different image, all targeting Heinlein's fans. You can never compete against yourself for the bid. So when you're running a test, we recommend using CPM bidding because it gives you the cleanest results, because the CPC auction takes click-through rate into account. So as soon as one ad starts getting more clicks, we're more likely to show that one to readers, and that kind of skews the A/B results. So CPM bidding also means you're going to reach readers faster typically, so you get results quicker. And then if you set the same bid for all of those campaigns, if you are the highest bidder, your own ads aren't going to bump up the cost for you. So, and that's true across your campaigns. Even if you're targeting different readers, you're never going to increase your own costs. Where you do compete with yourself is for those readers, because each of those ads was targeting the same group of readers. You might have one science fiction reader who sees both of those ad images on 2 different days in different emails that they open. So let's say, your ads run for 3 days. On Monday, this reader might see one image. On Tuesday, they might see another image. And that actually, for the A/B testing would tell you if they click on one and not the other, that one of those images was more successful. And then at the end of the 3 days, you can compare the click-through rates and see for that audience which ones were most engaging. So the risk there is that you might just run out of the audience of readers. You might have a reader who sees different images for the same book a couple times, just because they fall into the audience for each one of those ads.
Yeah, so there will be a certain error rate because different readers, some might respond. It just might be a luck of the draw that you get really engaged readers who click on one ad, even though that image might not be the best. But still, it's going to be a standard deviation away. It's not going to be anything really too extreme. So if you see a 3% rate on one and a 0.5% rate on another, you're going to know, hey, let me take this one and work with it. But that's a way to go. You can do $10 or $5 a day, just something minimal to show you, and then don't scale it. Don't hit them all $50 each, because they'll spend all $50, and then you'll have nothing to show for it. And do your planning and do your testing before going hog wild and throwing your money. Even though BookBub's more than happy to take your money.
We'd rather have your money do good things for you.
They'd rather be you happy about giving them money. So this is not it's an investment in yourself. So do it right. Don't just throw money at the wall and hope that it sticks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chirp. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chirp is our audiobook retailer. In some ways, it's similar to BookBub in that we send out a daily email to Chirp members with discounted audiobooks. But the key difference is that the email only includes links back to the Chirp website, and all of the deals are exclusively available on Chirp. So the Chirp site, of course, is highlighting audiobook deals. We've got new limited time deals in each genre every single day, but we also have a complete audiobook catalog. So very similar to featured deals, really great strategy on the Chirp side is feature a first book in the series in that email, reach all of the readers in your particular genre with that discounted deal. And then they can come back to the Chirp website and buy all of the later books in the series directly from Chirp as well. There's no subscription for members, so it's completely free to join Chirp, and every audiobook that you purchase is a la carte. So you only buy the books that you want. They're yours to keep and listen to either through the web player on our website, or we've got apps for iOS and Android. Great listening app. So yeah, we were really excited to get into the audiobook space because readers had been asking for discounted audiobooks for years. Authors had been asking for ways to promote their audiobooks. And we ended up launching a retailer because that was actually the best way for us to get limited time deals to readers. The audiobook market's very different from the ebook market right now. So that was the best way for us to make sure that we could actually offer a very similar model to what worked so well for ebooks with featured deals to audiobook listeners. We've got over 1 million members signed up to Chirp right now. So definitely smaller than BookBub, but growing a lot, and they're really engaged, and we've been really excited about it.
How many titles do you have in your on your bookshelves, as it may be?
Sure. So Findaway is the exclusive distributor to Chirp right now. So any audiobook that's available in the Findaway catalog that an author has opted to add to Chirp will be there on the website. So self-published authors can work with Findaway Voices to get their audiobooks distributed to Chirp, and then publishers also work with Findaway. So we've got a whole catalog of traditionally published books as well. I don't actually know the total number, but yeah.
Yeah, Findaway is a real player in the industry. They stormed on the scene, as it may be, just a few years ago, and they give away very cool Yeti mugs like you got with your BookBub mug.
Yeah.
I think Mark Dawson has one, and I'm envious. I have to go to his house someday and steal it. But Chirp, the daily emails. I've had one deal. I think we talked about this before we went live. I've had one Chirp deal, and it was way cool. I don't have very many books through Findaway. I only have like 10 or 15 audios on Findaway. And when they do make their way to Chirp, that was really a great day, a great way to get that book and get the listeners on board, say, yes, I like this narrator, because we have our top-notch, Kate Rudd is a top-notch narrator, and she killed it on that book, and there it is, hey. And all of a sudden, a million new people have a chance to start listening to your stuff. And this is, audio is a tough market. It's the expanding market. It's the fastest growing market, but also it's the hardest to penetrate. I have some 50, 60 books, and only a few of them have earned out where we've paid our narrator off, and it's all gravy at this point. It's difficult to find traction. Some companies do it really well. I mean, if you get a Podium deal, Podium will push it maybe in such a way that then, hey, look at this, it's taken off. But it's very difficult. You have to find that, and BookBub is giving us a way to get those books out where people can see them or hear them, and then buy more of them. People spend a shitload of money on spend a lot of money on audio, way more than they'll spend on a book, which is interesting, because some of my audiobooks are like $35. I mean, we don't have any control over the pricing in some cases. And I saw one, it's like $35, and it had sales. I'm like, God, somebody paid $35 for one of my books, and it's hey, it's flattering, but damn, it's if you're commuting, if you're doing things like that, and a lot of people are subscribers to services and book. I didn't know that. Hey, you could line up for Chirp for free, and you just get these deals every day for. What is your price range that you will put books on a deal for with Chirp?
Yeah, so the price range right now is 99 cents is the lowest, and I think $5.99 is on the submission form the highest we go. We have maybe done a handful of deals for $7.99 if they were usually like multiple cast member, like really sleek production kind of things. We'll charge that higher price. But in general, because audiobooks have higher prices than ebooks, we can support higher deal prices than we do on the ebook side. We're not doing any free deals on Chirp right now. We might in the future. So 99 cents is that lowest tier. The other cool thing about submitting for a Chirp deal as opposed to a featured deal is we actually give you the option to select all of those deal prices. You don't have to pick just one like you do for a featured deal. And then our editorial team actually considers all the deal prices. And if we select a book for a feature in one of those Chirp emails, we'll suggest the deal price that we think will be most successful for that book for the audience that we selected it for. So we take a little bit more of that guesswork off of your plate and use our own data to figure out which price is going to be most effective.
That's good info there. It's nice as an indie when you don't have to make some decisions. And that's like, oh, let me guess it. I think 99 is going to work for me, but I could get $2.99, and you just take your best guess and come up with something. But it's better when the editor, you guys know, hey, this will work, this will resonate, and here's the other stuff we're running right around then. So you don't want to have one 99 deal out and everything else that week is $5.99. I mean, that would so those little things, those are extra benefits from folks, but you have to go through Find Away Voices to find your way to Chirp. But it is a good catalog and 1 million subscribers, work that you didn't have to do to find those people who want to listen, who are actively looking for new stuff to listen to.
Yeah.
So that's just like BookBub. How many? What is your net gain daily on subscribers to your BookBub newsletter?
Oh gosh, I do not know that stat off the top of my head. We have a whole team of marketers who are devoted just to bringing in new members to BookBub, new members to Chirp. But we also do a lot of work, the same as any author would for their newsletter, actually pruning people who aren't engaging with their emails too. So we will regularly check in if someone hasn't been opening their emails to say, hey, do you want to stay subscribed? And making sure that we're keeping our email list full of readers who are actually opening their emails. So yeah, I don't know that number off the top of my head, but we're always working hard to bring in new members because we know that that's going to keep things successful for all of you.
Well, and it's a continued gain. I wouldn't think that you're retrograding at all, because 20 million, that's an increase from the last time I heard anything on BookBub like a couple of years ago. So that's a pretty healthy number overall. I mean, I subscribe, I think, to 5 different genres, and get the newsletter every day. And I wondered when I didn't see a genre like science fiction. Hey, they didn't have science fiction or they had 2 science fictions. What would cause you to have 2 in one genre in the same newsletter?
Yeah, so we do have a relatively set schedule, but we're always testing it out to see. I don't know if there are any categories where we'd send out more than 2 books in one genre every single day. And again, that's to make sure that we're giving every deal we feature a good chance of getting a lot of clicks and downloads and sales. But we do play around with our schedule from time to time to make sure that we are sending as many books as we can to our readers without impacting the performance of the books that we're featuring out. So you might see things change day to day over time as we're just continuing to sort of finesse that schedule on our end to optimize for as many books as possible without overwhelming our readers and giving them more than they're going to be willing to engage with.
Okay. I think one of the most important things that we talked about today that we alluded to was conversion rate. And this is something you as indie authors really need to pay attention to, because that is your moneymaker. If you get a BookBub and BookBub says, hey, you had 10,000 clicks. Okay, they're not going to tell you had 10,000 clicks, but if you had 10,000 clicks and sold 100 books, you got issues. And you want a better conversion rate than that. I think Brian Meeks said 30 to 1, 30 clicks for 1 sale. So when you look at your data on the BookBub ad manager and you say, hey, I had 30 clicks. Well, if you only had 1 sale on the macro scheme, that you got issues. Your blurb is not converting. There's something with your look inside. There's something there. And these are things that then, hey, we're responsible for all that we do as self-published authors. So we need to go back and take a look. And if you sell a lot of book 1, you sell 5,000 copies, you get a book, but you're like, hey, I can't wait to get my next BookBub feature deal. And all of a sudden nobody's buying book 2. There's a problem with your book 1. So you convinced this readership to buy it, but this readership then didn't go on to buy the next book. So what turned them off? And that it always comes back to the first place you really need to look if something fails is yourself. What is this issue? And it might be the graphic. If you're not getting the clicks, well, then that's the graphic that's not gripping them to then click to go to the sales page. And usually that's the Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, wherever people buy. And now that sales page, that product page, is that getting them, convincing them to click one-click buy. And this is where the conversion, and that's people understand that, hey, BookBub isn't working for me. It might not be them. They're spending all my money and I'm not getting any sales. Hey, it might be you. And so keep in mind, there's a whole checklist of things that you need to look into to maximize your profitability. BookBub is the gold standard. If you can get a feature deal, if you can get an ad running, they can put it into a lot of people's hands, a lot of readers who buy their hands. And now, if you're getting those conversions, good on you. If you're getting that read through, that's even better. And then you'll see the most successful authors, they not only get the good conversion rate, they're getting the great read through rate. And if they can sell that first book on BookBub, they're selling the other 9 books in that series. And it's a monumental, I think David Gaughran described it as an island where they throw money on your head. Just money rains down on you. But there's a lot of moving parts between here and there. We really appreciate your time today, Carl. Any last words before we close up?
I guess the last thing I would say is we talked about the blog. So insights.bookbub.com is a fantastic resource for you to get, again, case studies, examples of authors who are using our tools successfully. The other resource I want to make sure you all know about is just our support team. So if you email us at partners@bookbub.com, any question, does not matter how big or how small, we can help you out. So everything from looking at your ad campaigns and offering some tips on how to improve them to helping you figure out a plan for your new release and how to use all of our tools. So please do shoot us an email. You're always going to reach a real person on our team, and we're here to help you be as successful as possible. So definitely reach out to us.
Oh, geez, while we were talking, I realized that I didn't think about 2 things. The featured new release, as well as partners.bookbub.com. So if you have not set up your author page on BookBub, you published your first book and hey, it's cool, and you sold a few copies and you're like, okay, what do I do now? Partners.bookbub.com, set yourself up and claim that book just like you do on your author page on Amazon. So these are things that you need to set up, and you set up. Once you set it up, then you start getting followers, and it's cool. And BookBub will send out an email to your followers if you have followers on BookBub. And it looks just like a featured deal. So as you build it, I'm finally up to about 900. I'm your typical sci-fi author. We have no followers on BookBub. And romance authors will have 20, 30, 40,000 followers. And you're like, man, geez. But hey, what did you do to do that? Write good books. I write good books, but I'm a sci-fi guy. Anyway, now but it looks just like a feature deal, and that is the way cool thing. Every time you have a new release, go and claim it, and it works for anthologies. So if you're in an anthology, because I published the Expanding Universe, we have 20 authors in a collection of short stories, and every one of those 20 authors, it goes out to their followers, and that is a way cool feature. But can you talk real quick about featured new releases? We didn't discuss that at all.
Yeah, so this is our weekly email that we send out highlighting new releases to all of our subscribers in a genre. So very similar to featured deals, except that it's exclusively new books and there's no discounting requirements. So we actually don't list the prices of the featured new releases in that email, which means that if you have a new release that's 99 cents, we're not necessarily going to advertise that 99-cent price to the readers. That's the goal of that email, is really exposure. So reaching all of the subscribers in your genre, letting them know about your new book. So we do see that slightly higher priced books are going to be more successful there because you don't have that extra deal price incentive getting people to click through. So that tool is, again, submission form. Our editorial team's looking through to select the books that they think will have that wide appeal to all of our subscribers in a genre. And it's a great way to just get bonus exposure for your new books. So in addition to the new release alert, which goes to your followers, your most engaged fans, for a book that you really want to get wide exposure for, this is another great option that you have.
What's the lead time for submitting for a featured new release?
Yeah. I believe you can submit up to 6 months in advance. So if you have a pre-order, you can start it that early. The absolute latest you can submit is release day. And so if you don't have a pre-order, you can submit on release day. And we've got about 2 weeks to get that featured. So a little bit riskier to submit closer because we might be already full up by that point. So as soon as your book is up for pre-order, I'd say go ahead and submit it. And we'll always schedule it for after it's live. We're not sending out any pre-order books in that email.
Okay, good. And that's I've got one that's on pre-order for November 30th, first in a new series. And I'm like, hey, I'd really like, let me wait for the month prior, like you do for a featured deal. So yeah, I better put that in probably today. Let's see if I can get some thriller space. All right. I really appreciate your time today, Carlyn. Thank you very much. And I have to say that you moved to Minnesota last winter. There was 2 places on the planet colder than Alaska, and it was Minnesota and North Dakota.
Oh,
so good on you for taking one for the team and going to an extra cold place.
Yeah.
You moved during the summer, so you good luck with that.
Summer's been beautiful. We'll see. Come talk to me in a couple months.
Yeah. Are you from there?
No, I'm not. I actually grew up in Southern California, so I've been all over the place. Yeah, I've been in Massachusetts for the last couple of years. Yeah.
I grew up in San Diego, and I'm living in.
Yeah, Boston winters are pretty bad too. So I think it's going to be colder here, but I'm prepared.
Not as humid. Yeah. You'd be okay. Okay. Just stay inside. All right. Thank you very much, Carlyn. You have a great day, and it was great talking with you. BookBub, and next up in an half hour, actually, Michael will join me, and we'll talk about stuff. I don't even know what our topic is. We'll come up with that over the next half hour. Thank you. Everybody have a great day. Let's see. Please record. Please be recorded. Please be recorded. Usually the thing saying we're done comes up within like seconds. It's not up yet. Come on. Because there's always the threat that it still hasn't done it yet. There's always a threat that it didn't record. So it's probably they're probably looking at us saying, "What are these idiots doing?"